I couldn't believe the amount of fire and smoke that was coming out of the school.
It's a wonderful school with wonderful staff and students, and this is going to be a heartbreak for many of us, including myself.
Just devastating. The 90-year-old school lit up in flames. More than 100 firefighters battled the blaze, the second one at York Memorial in just the last 2 days. The historic high school has partially collapsed. The 6-alarm fire has been burning since 3:30 this morning. Alicia Son has been on scene at the school near Eglinton and Kiel. She's still there live for us tonight. Firefighters still battling there, Ali.
Yeah, Dwight, the smoke has dissipated. It's lightened up. It's getting easier to breathe around here. But as you can tell, Toronto firefighters are still doing a lot of work here. We are not out of the woods yet. They are using their water cannons to douse the building. It's not yet clear how much of this 90-year-old school they'll be able to save, and it's also not yet clear how this all happened. One thing is for sure, though, that 2 fires in as many days is suspicious, and that's exactly how this is being treated today. Flames have been tearing through the school all night and all day.
I woke up and it smelled like fire, or just smoky in my room, and my dad knocked on my door just to let me know to prepare to evacuate, and it's looking like I'm needing to evacuate now.
The officers came and knocked on the doors and said we all had to come out because, the fire's out of control. Now I can't even breathe, right? It's crazy.
Blocks of this West End neighborhood have been smoked out, including 3 schools.
There's around 150 firefighters working on the scene, in addition to a large number of Toronto police officers and Toronto paramedics here with us today.
Water cannons are blasting through the windows. Smoke is seeping through the bricks. I'm told this part of the school might collapse soon. It did. It's too early to know the cause. The fire is too hot for firefighters to get inside, let alone investigators. But the fire chief can say
there is some suggestion that the first fire caused some suspicion, hence the engagement of our colleagues at police, and I'll leave it at that pending the rest of the investigation.
Were you in the school yesterday when the smaller fire broke out?
Yeah, I was on the 3rd floor, and we heard the drill. We got out. At first we thought it was a drill, and after we see a lot of firefighters coming in, and this got to be serious.
That fire was under control at the end of the day, and a security team was here overnight when it reignited.
With the first fire being suspicious, then we have to look at the second fire and how that fire started. So there are concerns about the whole thing, quite frankly.
To be honest, I don't even know. I just hope this could all just be over soon. But it won't be the same as it was before.
Yeah. So I want to ask you, what are you going through?
A lot. I feel really emotional and sad because even though it's just our first year, we made so many memories, and it's kind of saddening how it can just burn out and just, disappear in such a quick moment.
While firefighters continue their work, air quality tests are being done, and that will determine whether we see more evacuations, and that will also determine whether area schools will reopen. Now, we just learned that the fire chief has allowed the use of heavy excavation equipment to assist at this fire scene. So that could indicate that we could see some of York Memorial Collegiate come down as early as this evening. That would certainly be a sad sight for a lot of people. White.
Certainly would if you grew up in that part of the city. Thank you, Ali. Now, the devastating fire comes just weeks before the school is set to celebrate a huge milestone. Built back in 1929, it's celebrating its 90th anniversary this year. Taylor Simmons took a look back at the history of York Memorial.
Just as the school finalized plans for its big reunion, flames erupted.
It's spreading. Oh my God.
Alumni like JB watched in horror.
A lot of the students that went to this school actually fought in the war. So that's why I'm just thinking of everyone that has been part of this school. I'm not the only one, that's
that is very emotional today.
Built June 6, 1929, in the wake of the First World War, York Memorial Collegiate is the community's memorial to students who died. It's covered in symbolism with inscriptions and dedications marking its walls.
It has a number of stained glass windows which name the different virtues, motifs that commemorate what were then the 9 provinces, as well as murals that depict various battles throughout Canadian history.
The steps, when you come into the school, they have 11 steps representing the 11th day of the 11th month and the 11th hour.
The school holds a special significance for school trustee Chris Tonks.
Many generations of my family have gone there, my father as well, in addition to my grandfather. My grandfather actually attended in the first year the school was built. It's pretty devastating for the school, and from what I understand, it's beyond repair.
It's unclear if fire crews were able to save any memorabilia, but what is clear, the school won't be the same.
What I'm going to be looking for in the next couple of days is some immediate response from government officials, from school board officials, from the province, in terms of their commitment to making sure that what is remains of the building is restored, and that essentially, that history is maintained.
Now, plans to hold a reunion are up in the air.
We were going to have a big turnout. Everyone was excited, and the feeling was there. The excitement and the feedback I was getting was, it's a very sad day for all.
Some alumni have already started a fundraiser to help any rebuilding efforts at the school. Meantime, they're wondering when, if, or how they should come together at the end of this month to celebrate its 90th anniversary. Taylor Simmons, CBC News, Toronto.
Meanwhile, crews worked into the night to control a 4-alarm fire at an adult education center in Greektown. You remember we brought you this story live yesterday during our newscast when a fire was called to the Jones Avenue Adult Center south of Danforth just before 5 on Monday. 7 construction workers had been on the roof of the building when the flames broke out and had to be rescued. No one was hurt. The cause of the fire still under investigation. And the winds. Could we talk about that, Colette? Because both of these fires, the winds really affected how the firefighters were able to fight the blaze and also how the community was able to breathe or not, really.
Yeah, exactly, Dwight. And there's a couple of things I want to point out regarding that. And one has been that, in a case like this, it's usually helpful to have some stronger winds. That means, you have more of an airflow to disperse all these particulates and get them away from the source of the fire. We have not seen that. The winds currently coming from the southeast and coming in at less than 10 kilometers an hour. So that's really not helping because it's not enough of a breeze. And just to keep things in perspective, of course, if the prevailing wind is coming from the southeast, it means the smoke, if this is the fire, is going to be going back over here towards the northwest. So this is what's happening currently. The other thing I wanted to really point out is what's going to be happening with the smoke that we're seeing. And those particulates in the air, by the way, when we're talking about a school going up in flames, there's so many different items and ingredients then that could be within those smoke plumes, and in terms of for respiratory problems really posing a problem. Plastics, all kinds of different things. Think of a school and all the things that are there. Let me take you into this forecast showing you, okay, this is where we are now, so those prevailing winds taking this more towards the northwest. But look what happens into the later evening hours. As we get more of a northerly wind, in fact a northwesterly wind, it reverses things, and we're more likely to see that smoke, those plumes, those particles pushing towards the city and down towards the downtown core. Now, once it gets out over the water, that helps to some extent. Also, the winds picking up a little bit, that will help to some extent to get this out of here and help improve things and that air quality for folks, especially in that area. Our current temperature, it's 13 degrees out there. Such a departure, 10 degrees cooler than this time yesterday, pretty much. And you see those showers well to the south. We have that nice clearing trend. There's just one bad little image here in our radar, but we have that nice clearing trend with the clouds moving out and getting the sun into the afternoon. That helped to pop the temperature up. Some rain showers that pushed out of southwestern Ontario as well. So as high pressure digs in, we have clearer skies overnight tonight. That actually means the temperature falling off enough that we could see some patchy frost and even some advisories up to the north of us, not into the GTA, but there is that risk. What's to come? Well, it's going to be late day Wednesday, clouds will start to increase, and then the next system moving in, especially having an impact into Thursday. I'll talk about that a little bit later in the show, Dwight.
Thank you, Colette.
You're welcome.
It is a huge game for our Raptors tonight. They host the Philadelphia 76ers in Game 5 of their series, which is tied at 2-2. Greg Ross joins us live now from Scotiabank Arena. And Greg, Raptors fans are actually getting some heat for not showing up early enough to these games.
It has definitely been a problem in the playoffs. It's not that the fans don't want to be here or they're not coming out in droves. They're just getting here late. And early on in games, like games 1 and 2, I was here, and I can tell you there were a lot of empty seats, a lot of people not in their seats when they're doing those player introductions and they're trying to get everybody fired up here in the building, or when they're singing the national anthem. Lots of empty seats, and it does take away from really the energy in this building early in the game. And a lot of people say the solution is to get fans in here early so they can get settled into their seats and be there during those big moments early on.
Your sixth man, your crowd on Tuesday night has got to be off the charts in that building.
A passionate plea from Raptors color commentator Jack Armstrong on the TV broadcast at the end of Game 4 in Philadelphia. Armstrong said the energy was flat in Games 1 and 2 because fans got to their seats late, and then he called on the team to open the gates earlier for Game 5.
There's such a small margin error between these two teams. You need every edge you can get. You've earned the right to have the edge of playing on your home court, so why not take advantage of a crowd that's actually into it and engaged and there and fired up, rather than sitting on their hands or late to the game.
How much influence did Jack Armstrong have on it? It seems the people in the Raptors front office were listening.
Jack's a big supporter, and it was a good idea. I would say it was already in the works.
Tonight, fans can enter Scotiabank Arena at 6:30, even though tip-off is not until 8 o'clock. Superfan Nav Bachu says the team is doing its part. Now the fans have to do theirs.
If I can send a message, please come 30 minutes early and be a part of all the celebrations, all the excitement which is going pre-game inside and in the Jurassic Park.
They get the switch. Kawhi takes it, Rio makes it.
Bacio was at Games 3 and 4 in Philadelphia, where they have also been opening the gates 90 minutes prior to tip-off. He says fans there gave the Sixers a big boost.
You know, I have to say that Philadelphia was much louder. And we have to do the same thing. We have to be louder there from the time the ball is tipped off. We should be, and we should carry with all the plays.
Philadelphia as a sports town is legendary. I think they're known as some of the best fans in sports, but we believe that we have that here too. So just like there's a competition on the court, there is a competition among the fans to support their team the loudest and the hardest.
So a little friendly competition maybe between fan bases. Hey, we have a good opportunity here tonight. This is an important game. I can tell you right now, you look around, empty seats. But in about 20 minutes, people are going to be allowed to start coming into the building. We'll see if they get the message that was sent out by Jack and Nav. See if they get here early. See if they're loud early in this game. And see if they can give the Raptors an early boost as they try to take a 3-2 lead in this series, Dwight.
We're with Jack Armstrong on this one. Stop being fashionably late and get to the game on time, Toronto. Thank you, Greg. Another day, another cut. CBC Toronto has learned the province plans to end its funding for Tourism Toronto, and the mayor has now revealed a grand total for what all the provincial changes mean for the city. City Hall reporter Lauren Pelly joins us now. And Lauren, you have that number for us, and it's a big one.
Well, keep in mind, this is a conservative estimate, and the city still has lots of questions of the province. But today, Mayor John Tory said the grand total that they're expecting the shortfall will be this year alone is $100 million or more. Now, this is counting cuts to childcare, to public health, as well as the city was expecting that they would have some new revenue from a planned hike to municipalities' share of the gas tax revenue. Now, the province scrapped that as well. Here's how Mayor John Tory explained things today.
So the number that we're best able to give based on our best assessments of the combined cuts so far is well north of $100 million for this year for the City of Toronto. And that's a very significant number. I mean, for us, that's worth, say, 3 points of property tax or a host of other kinds of cutbacks that have to be made either in that area of public health and childcare or in some other area.
Now, it's worth noting that the property tax rate for this year is already set. That came about during the city's budget process a couple months ago. And that's why there's so much concern now from city officials over the possibility of having to cut services. Now, Tory also said today that very little of these sweeping changes are in writing, and that has both the mayor and several councillors hopeful that maybe the province will back down.
And for the residents of Toronto, too much is at stake here. I don't think we can actually just sit back and say this has happened to us because we received a letter from the province, or perhaps we are part of a conference call, until it's actually in legislation and adopted, and that's by way of their budget. I think we continue to fight.
Given the breadth of outrage and the diversity, both geographical and political, opposition to these public health cuts, I'm hopeful that they will reverse course and put a pause to these dangerous cuts.
Now, Ford himself so far, though, is showing no signs that he wants to reverse course. In a statement today, the Premier says the city has let waste fester instead of looking out for taxpayers. And he made a dig at the mayor, saying if John Tory spent as much time going through the city's finances as he does worrying about the color of the Toronto sign, he would be able to find some efficiencies. Dwight?
Ooh, some would call that a low blow. So this war of words not slowing down. And we've also learned about another big funding cut today.
That's right. There's another one that's come to light. We learned that the province plans to eliminate all of its funding for Tourism Toronto. So what that amounts to is around $9 million cut. That's about a quarter of the total budget for the tourism agency. The rest of that cash comes from a hotel tax collected by the city. Now, for those who aren't familiar with the nonprofit, what they do is promote and advertise Toronto, and it says it will be able to keep going despite this funding cut, but there might be some tough choices about what international events and conferences it can bring to the city. Now, the cut also comes after the city had a record-breaking tourism year in 2017 with 43 million visitors at Toronto, and they're spending $9 billion here. Now, that's leaving city officials now scratching their heads a bit about why the province is saying that Ontario is open for business, but they're cutting funding to an agency who wants to bring people in. Now, this is another situation as well where this agency doesn't have the details in writing. So they're hoping that maybe the Ford government will reverse course at some point down the road. Dwight?
Thank you, Lauren. Now, an advocacy group for childcare in this province is sounding the alarm. They say municipalities are getting at least $80 million less from the province in childcare funding this year.
Compared to 2018, there is an immediate $80 million cut to childcare funding. Fee stabilization funding, gone. General operating funding, cut by $40 million. And as municipalities grapple with the policy changes that the Ford government is also imposing on them, those cuts are going to get far deeper still.
Part of that $80 million includes a fund that helped childcare centers cover increasing labor costs without passing them on to parents, money that the government says was intended last year as a one-time funding, though the previous Liberal Education Minister disputes that. Education Minister Lisa Thompson says municipalities should look at their administrative spending to find efficiencies.
No, we won't give up the fight. Hands off our legal rights.
Doctors and lawyers took to Queen's Park today to protest the funding cuts to legal aid in Ontario. We'll have that story coming up.
But first, have you had trouble trying to get in touch with federal government call centers? You're not alone. Half of the 16 million Canadians trying by phone couldn't speak to a real person. That's one of the many findings from the Auditor General's report. More on that and what else they found after the break.
The weather update is brought to you by Train Extreme Conditions Testing. It's hard to stop a train, really hard. Train, the most reliable heating and cooling brand.
Canada's refugee claimant system is bogged down and wait times will only get worse. Those findings are part of the latest Auditor General's report. It says many problems can be traced to inefficiencies in the current system. Shalima Shivji has the details.
The surge of asylum seekers crossing into Canada strained the country's system for processing refugee claims, a backlog highlighting problems that were already there, says the Office of Canada's Auditor General. Chronic inefficiencies, meaning an expected 2-month wait for a refugee claim hearing is now 2 years.
And without efficiency improvements, just throwing more money to increase the capacity, more needs to be done. Efficiency improvements such as moving from a paper-based system, which it is now.
The 3 agencies processing claims don't share information properly, the report says. Hearings often postponed because there are too few refugee board members. The government says the report is a snapshot from last year and much has already been done to fix the problems. More than $200 million of new money is coming, promised in March's budget.
Money is of course one of the main issues. The system was never funded for the volumes that it received or the increases that we've seen in the last number of years. And this is something that started with the previous government. So we are finally funding the asylum system for the volumes that it is experiencing.
But the Conservatives quickly fired back.
I cannot believe that, like 6 weeks left in Parliament after 4 years, that they're coming out here and saying that it's Stephen Harper's fault. That's just patently ridiculous.
She says the government needs to take responsibility for not doing enough to clear the backlog. Salima Shivji, CBC News, Ottawa.
People really want to see action on climate change, whether it's people that are dealing with floods in the east or forest fires in the west.
A big win for the Green Party in the federal by-election in BC last night. That may have bigger implications with a fall election looming. The Liberals see climate action as one of their signature issues, but are other parties now driving the narrative on the environment? Our senior parliamentary reporter, Julie Van Duzel, is here to talk about that. So, Julie, just what's the reaction to the Nanaimo Ladysmith by-election from last night?
Well, Dwight, let's start with Elizabeth May. Certainly last week when I spoke to her just before she headed off to Nanaimo to campaign for the weekend, she said, I think we can win this riding. And it sounded pretty far-fetched, but the Greens have won, and they've won big. And it means for Elizabeth May that she'll have a seatmate in the House of Commons. She's been carrying the can since 2011, sitting there by herself. She'll have someone to sit with, not for long, because the House only sits till mid-June. But it shows a certain wind in the sails for the Green Party. Think just a couple of weeks ago, they won 8 seats provincially in PEI. They've got a presence in New Brunswick, in BC. Overall now, they've gone from a marginalized party a few years ago to 17 federal and provincial seats. So for the NDP, though, this loss of Nanaimo is a blow. They've had representation in that area for about 50 years. The Liberals only polled about 10% there. So Elizabeth May says climate change was a big driver, and she says it's no mystery the other parties got clobbered. Take a listen.
A lot of voters in Nanaimo Ladysmith who are very concerned about climate change and cannot understand how the NDP can claim to be concerned about climate change and support LNG and fracking and all the greenhouse gas emissions from that. They can't understand how Justin Trudeau thinks he can be a climate leader while buying a pipeline and trying to force it through to the BC coast. And the Conservatives have no credibility on climate at all.
Yeah, the Green leader got a seat in our last provincial election. So what about the Conservatives now, Julie?
Well, the Conservatives are looking at the big picture and, you know, seeing that if the Green Party keeps inching up, that it might bode well for them in certain ridings, because they might split the vote on the left, and the Conservatives in some ridings could, slip up the middle. But overall, if the ballot issue next election is about climate change, I mean, Andrew Scheer will have to come out with something because he doesn't have a plan. But earlier today, he said his plan is coming soon. Take a listen.
Canada must continue to work with international allies across the world, those that are willing to take up the heavy responsibility of ensuring that we pass on a planet cleaner and greener than the one we inherited.
So, Dwight, it's hard to say in Nanaimo, was it a protest vote against mainline parties? Was it a vote about climate change? It's a picture in time, but the vote on October 1st is 5 months away, so no one knows what the ballot issue will be then.
Yeah, we do not. Senior reporter Julie Van Duzen in our Parliamentary Bureau in Ottawa. Thank you, Julie.
You're welcome.
That's the band of the Royal Regiment of Scotland celebrating the arrival of the newest royal baby, a very fitting song called Congratulations. For the newest member of the royal family, we'll have more from Windsor, England, coming up. Ontario's Integrity Commissioner is tossing out an allegation that Premier Doug Ford violated the province's conflict of interest laws. It was alleged that Ford broke the rules by approving the firing of the former Deputy Commissioner of the OPP, Brad Blair. He was outspoken about Ford appointing his friend Ron Tavener to lead the OPP, a job Blair applied for himself. Now, Tavener ultimately turned down the role amid the controversy. After reviewing the allegations, the Integrity Commissioner says there are insufficient grounds to open up an investigation. Blair is currently suing Ford for libel over comments the Premier made suggesting the veteran police officer had broken the Police Services Act. Queen's Park has been ground zero for protests these past few months, from students to unions to parents. Today, it was the professionals' turn. Doctors and lawyers are urging the Doug Ford government to reverse cuts to legal aid. Lisa Shing has more.
Health providers standing tall, we want legal aid for all.
Dressed in robes and lab coats, about 150 lawyers and doctors shouted out slogans on the front lawn of Queen's Park.
We say, no, we won't give up the fight, hands off our legal rights.
They also disrupted question period.
Those of you who are protesting have to leave.
So the Attorney General could continue her defense of the government's 30% cut to legal aid, which would save the province more than $100 million this year.
Legal aid has said itself that frontline services will continue to remain strong.
These protesters don't think so.
It's implementing more and more measures that disproportionately impact racialized immigrant, low-income people.
It's going to affect a lot of my clients and a lot of vulnerable populations in the community. So, like I was saying before, domestic violence victims, as well as children, members of the LGBTQ community.
Not having access to a lawyer will cause tremendous stress, which will aggravate both mental health conditions and physical health conditions.
Part of the cut includes immigration and refugee services. Legal Aid Ontario projects spending about $30 to $40 million on that this year. The federal funding covers half of that, but the province wants Ottawa to cover it all. And generally, Caroline Mulrooney says there's been a decrease in the number of people using legal aid.
If this were a private business with over a $400 million budget and we were seeing more and more money invested and we weren't getting the results, we would find that unacceptable.
The government insists if legal aid reforms, it can help more people with less funding. Legal Aid says it's taking a hard look at its finances to streamline and offer more services online. Lisa Shing, CBC News, Toronto.
Hearings began today into a controversial Quebec bill that would prohibit some public sector employees from wearing religious symbols at work. The bill would apply to teachers, police officers, judges, and crown prosecutors, among others. It's the latest in a decade-long debate in Quebec over what a secular state should look like. Alison Northcott has more.
Rasha Chiabe says it's always been a challenge to wear a hijab in Quebec, but says the debate around the province's secularism bill has made it even harder.
Somehow this law, even if this was not the intention, this law validated the negative image, like this is not what we want in Quebec.
The bill has highlighted divisions in the province between those who say the law would violate charter rights and those who say Quebec needs to ensure the state is secular.
It bans religious symbols for at least those public servants who are in positions of authority, which is excellent. It should do it for the entire public service, but it's a good start.
As today's hearings began, the minister who sponsored the bill says it strikes a balance between individual and collective rights. It's up to the Quebec government to stand up for our distinct character, says Immigration Minister Simon Jolin Barrette, and to make sure our collective choices are respected. The first presentations came from groups in favor of secularism.
The people in the school have this obligation towards the pupils to be neutral, do not show off what their preferences are politically or religiously.
Jamila Ben Habib said women who refuse at all costs to remove their hijabs are engaging in a form of emotional blackmail.
En disant non, je n'enlèverai pas mon hijab, eh bien celles-ci, oui, je considère qu'elles sont intégristes.
Laïcité. The hearing also heard from philosopher Charles Taylor, who is against the bill.
Counter feminism, counter integration, counter human rights, counter a society which people come to understand each other. It's counter everything that we believe in our society, everything we've been struggling to get over these years.
Some groups say they've been left out of the hearings.
Sends a clear message that people of faith backgrounds are not valued and are second-class citizens. And this is not the Quebec that most of us have grown up in.
But the government says it will hear from 36 groups representing a variety of views. It hopes to pass the bill by the end of the legislative session in June. Alison Northcott, CBC News, Montreal.
Check this out. Yeah, check out this extremely unsafe driver on the QEW. You can see it carting a load of wood with the rear doors wide open. Not only that, the trunk is also open with what looks like a piece of furniture sticking out. The OPP say they've seen the video posted to Facebook. It's not clear if the driver has been found yet or charged. 2 men have been charged with second-degree murder in the fatal stabbing of a teenager near Guildwood and Kingston Road yesterday. Police have identified the victim as 17-year-old Brendan Bowler. Police say the stabbing happened at around noon after a fight broke out among a group of people. The TDSB has confirmed that Bowler was a student at Sir Wilfrid Laurier Collegiate Institute, which is near the scene of the stabbing. Police are asking anyone who may have photos or video of the attack to please contact them. When you buy a condo, you probably think everything that comes along with it belongs to you. But one Toronto condo owner is sharing a cautionary tale after the storage locker she bought along with her condo was emptied and taken over by someone else. Now all her belongings are gone and she's looking for answers. Shanifa Nasser has the story.
D56, this is our car, this is our locker that came with our parking spot.
Yana Cherniakov and her boyfriend have no idea where their things are. They bought their condo along with their parking spot and locker in November 2017. Then, last summer, her lock was changed with no warning.
And was told that due to a series of break-ins or attempted break-ins in the lockers, that all the locks were going to be changed and ours.
Last month, her boyfriend realized the locker was emptied, replaced by someone else's bags.
It was probably about $3,000 to $4,000 worth of merchandise in there, but it was more the feeling of being violated. Somebody being in our stuff, and we had no idea for how long.
She says the property manager told her the locker might have been sold, even though she owned it.
So if we go to this last page here, I've highlighted here, so it says parking locker D56.
Yana found another problem too. The new lock could be opened by almost anyone with a key to the complex's common areas, like the building's many locker rooms.
So there's about 100 lockers in this room alone, which means hundreds of people have access to this key.
All of them were able to open Yana's locker. But condo lawyer Denise Lash says unit owners aren't powerless.
The thing is that unit owners should make sure that they have insurance coverage. So if this does occur, at least they'll be protected to a certain extent.
The couple could also sue the condo corporation. For now, they want their things back and answers.
It's frustrating because it seems that property management has completely washed their hands clean of this.
Shortly after CBC News began looking into the situation, Yana's lock was replaced again. This time it's secure. The property management company 360 Management calls this an unfortunate series of events, saying another resident's confusion over locker numbers was to blame. They also say they'll be working with Yana to come up with a satisfactory resolution. Shanifa Nasser, CBC News, Toronto.
And remember, if you have a story you would like us to look into, just send us an email, torontotips@cbc.ca. Complaints earlier in the show that the fans weren't showing up early enough. Well, they're there bright and early, but what would the weather be like for them tonight out there?
You know, Dwight, at least it's going to be dry, so that's a positive thing. Yeah, I think we can go ahead and just have a look. And I'm so glad to know that folks are kind of showing up a little bit sooner this time. That's been kind of the call. We want to be there. Everyone who's going to be enjoying it in the square, great, in Jurassic Park, but also inside. They want folks in there with their T-shirts on and ready for the national anthem. So you can see, yeah, it's filling up in there and bundled up okay a little bit, but everyone's going to be dry tonight. So that's the only thing. Our temperatures, unlike yesterday, wouldn't that have been nice to have that now? No, they're running a little bit on the cool side. So 11 degrees by 7 p.m. will drop off a couple of degrees. 9 p.m. clear skies, 9 degrees, and about 7 degrees towards the end of the game as we're hopefully celebrating a win. Got butterflies in my stomach. I know we can do it, but still, I'm a little nervous to see how it unfolds. So what we're looking at in terms of our headlines, we're going to start out with some sunshine tomorrow, and then the clouds will build in later in the day tomorrow. It is going to be another day, even a little bit cooler than today. It's Wednesday night towards Friday morning, so all that period where we'll see the cloud cover, but also some rain showers. Mostly, though, those will take place on Thursday, and then well, Friday morning may be a little bit wet, but we get some milder conditions into the afternoon hours. All right, our current temperatures, I said it would drop off a couple of degrees pretty quickly here into the next hour. 13 now. We do have the rain that's to the south of us, high pressure building in as it digs in. The clouds are moving away, but then they come back for the second half of the day tomorrow, all out ahead of this next system that primarily impacts us Thursday, but even Wednesday night we could see some showers moving in. Overnight tonight, these are your lows, 3 to 4 degrees. 5 for St. Catharines. We may see some patchy frost. Sorry to say, but that is the possibility, especially to the north of the GTA. Highs tomorrow, 10 to 13 degrees. And as we look forward, it is going to be a breezy, cool day Thursday. Friday, we do warm up. The afternoon will be better. Saturday looks good. A peek at Mother's Day, Dwight. Could have some showers on that day. I'm sorry, Mom.
Yeah, the showers are one thing, but it's way too late in the season to be using the F word. Really, Frost?
I know. Come on, I had to look at the calendar. Okay, no, there it is.
Thanks, Colette.
You're welcome.
We don't know what he looks like. We don't know his name. Prince Harry and Meghan's new baby boy is expected to make his public debut tomorrow, and royal fans can't wait. Our Dominic Belitis has more.
Well, there are still some missing pieces of information that we're all desperately waiting for here. One of them, of course, is the name. What will the Duke and Duchess of Sussex call their new baby boy? A few names have started bubbling to the surface now in terms of popularity. Alexander is one, James is another, Arthur a third. So names with very strong royal connections. And the big thing, though, I think that everybody here at the world's media is waiting for is the first photograph. Now, Prince Harry hinted yesterday that that might take place tomorrow. It won't be a grand photo opportunity like the kind we've seen with previous royal births. This will be a private affair. Just the select few will be invited to that. One journalist, one cameraman and one photographer, and they will then distribute those images to the world's media. There was a changing of the guard ceremony. Many people turned out for that. Here's how they've reacted to the news of the new royal baby.
Oh, I'm super excited about it. I love Meghan and Harry's my favourite prince. So yeah, I'm super excited for the baby.
I was pleased, very pleased sort of thing for them.
Meanwhile, it is being reported that Her Majesty the Queen will at some point, either today or maybe tomorrow, go and visit. She has been seen out and about today with her husband Prince Philip at an official event. Also there, interestingly, was the former Canadian Prime Minister Jean Chrétien, and there was an exchange between the two. Have a listen to this.
So life is good for you, Your Majesty.
Yes, thank you.
Congratulations, another great grandchildren. How many of them have you got now? You beat me by one.
Her Majesty the Queen is expected to visit her 8th great-grandchild sometime over the next 24 hours. Dominic Belitis, CBC News, London.
As we head to break, here's a look at where the markets closed today. Stay with us. We will be right back.
This market update is brought to you by SSQ Insurance, reminding you that stronger communities make every person stronger.
from the sublime to the ridiculous. That was the scene last night on the red carpet for the Met Gala in NYC. It's fashion's biggest night, known for delivering some daring and risque statements. This year's theme was camp. Eli Glasner is our guide to last night's extravaganza. He joins us now. I'm thinking this is not the kind of camp that you do in the woods, Eli.
Celine Dion actually thought originally that was the
Had to
theme.
be the Canadian.
But it's not that. That might be a different kind of show. Camp is like a little extra, taking something trashy and then going like to 11. Like, I'll give you a very quick example. The lining of my jacket. There you go. That'd be a little camping. I like it too. Thank you. Okay, so let's start with the professor of camp, the queen of camp, the expert. I'm talking Lady Gaga. I remember how she brought Tiff to a halt with her outfit. This time we get not one, 4 Lady Gaga outfits. Starts off in that giant pink parachute. Under that, we have this kind of black ball gown. You think, okay, Gaga's got 2 outfits for the price of one.
We're good.
She's done. She's good. She's great. No, she's still going.
Oh, there's more?
So a little coquettish stuff there. And there we have kind of the skin-tight pink neon number. Calling the agent. How's this going? Pretty good. Putting on the sunglasses. You think, okay, now other people are waiting.
Cell phone.
No,
there's more.
One more. The full Gaga. There you go.
The full Gaga.
That is Lady Gaga. Now we're in the mood, right? So let's keep going. We'll look at some of my faves, including Saoirse Ronan. There she is. This is like auditioning for the next Avengers film. This is amazing. A kind of a Gucci outfit. Beautiful stuff from Saoirse Ronan.
Whoa.
And then, I don't know if you can recognize her, Cardi B.
Is that my girl Cardi?
That's Cardi, and
Only
a lot
Cardi.
of dress. I'll just say, there's a lot of dress. Constance Wu from Crazy Rich Asians. She was there with Aquafina. Many others looked amazing. You'll see her and Jennifer Lopez, kind of a 1920s
That is
flapper
not J-Lo.
girl. That is J-Lo. That is very much. That's a lot of J-Lo right there. So there you go. And we got Idris Elba and Miss Vancouver herself.
His new Canadian wife.
Sabrina Daura.
Love
and then
it.
finally, you want the most campy, most extra? Katy Perry on your left as the human chandelier. And Janelle Monáe, look at the wink.
I have to go with the wink.
Her face, the face of the dress, which she said was inspired by Picasso, one of her favorites, actually winks. So I don't know. Built-in battery pack as the human chandelier or winking Picasso
They're
portrait.
both really good.
It's tough. It's tough, eh? So there you go.
All right, the ladies.
Yeah.
They brought it.
They did.
How'd the men do, though?
They did all right. You know, sometimes the men are kind of black tuxedo, whatever. No, look at Harry Styles. Look at that. Gucci jumpsuit, see-through kind of.
Styles.
I mean, he's pulling it off.
Oh,
that's Dr. Strange
like
or Dr.
that one.
Style. Benedict Cumberbatch, not too shabby.
I think I could pull that off at the all white.
I'd love to see you in that. This, not so much, Dwight.
No.
Especially with the accessory. I know. He brought a head. He brought an extra head. That's Shawn Mendes. Not exactly campy, but looking very slick. So nice to see that.
Shout out to Shawn.
And then one more I want to show you, Ezra Miller. Now, Ezra Miller, you might know him as Flash from the Justice League movies, always goes all the way on any carpet. Look at that. 7 pairs of eyes. 7 eyes on his face with this tuxedo corset thing. So he's known for kind of pushing things, and he was, a lot of...
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a winner.
There you go.
We like that. Okay, so King and Queen of camp last night.
I crown the queen, our own woman who thought it was summer camp, but she rose to the occasion, Celine Dion. She said she was inspired by the Ziegfeld Follies and Judy Garland, sparkling gold fringe, the headdress. I mean, you can't really
bow, Celine.
I know.
Take a bow.
And Celine is she's just in her happy place these days. It's so great to see.
Stylish.
Now,
I like her.
and I'll leave you with one more. Billy Porter. Remember the guy who wore the black gown at the Oscars? So this time, going with a pharaoh fashion. Can we make that a thing? That's Billy Porter. Back to Egypt big time, being carried in by the attendants, all that glittering gold. And then when he stepped down off, you might know him from the Pose TV show, the outfit, think of a phoenix rising.
Right?
Look at that.
Whoa.
Ta-da! There, I don't know if that's camp, but that is something, ladies and gentlemen. So
I feel like it's a summer, or it's Caravana or Carnival or something.
That would be a good Caravana, yeah.
Thank you, Eli. That was fun.
It's Game 5 between the Raptors and Sixers. I'm Greg Ross, live in Jurassic Park, where the fans are already starting to arrive, ready to make noise early and often. We'll have a preview of this pivotal game coming up.
The series is tied up and the pressure is on as our Raptors host the 76ers tonight for Game 5. Greg Ross is live again from Scotiabank Arena. And Greg, it's about an hour to tip off, so are fans starting to trickle in?
We are seeing some fans actually start trickling into the arena. That's the good news. That's what the Raptors wanted. They wanted people to get here early, get their drinks, get their food, and get into their seats. So the hope is that there will be a full arena come game time. We've already got a pretty full Jurassic Park here as well. Fans are here. They're loud. They're excited. They're ready to go. Obviously wanting to see the Raptors take that pivotal 3-2 lead in this series. Maybe on the back of Kawhi Leonard, who has really carried this team in this series with 30-plus points in every single game so far. And the other story of this series might be Joel Embiid, the star, the big man for the Philadelphia 76ers, who has not been his dominant self so far in this series. Other than a 33-point performance in Game 3, he really has been flat. Now, the word is that he is sick. The word is that at one point during this series, they had to have him hooked up to an IV because that's just how sick he has been. He did not come to the arena for the pregame shoot-around this morning because he was too sick. They said he was back at the hotel. I asked Jimmy Butler today what's wrong with him, and this is what he told me.
I'm not a doctor. I don't know. I can look at him and tell how he's doing. I mean, hopefully he gets his rest up, fluids, whatever he need to do. Try to stay as far away as I could, to tell you the truth. I love him, but I don't want to be sick either. I hate getting sick. So whenever I'm sick, I'm down and out.
Well, he's going to have to be close to him on the court today because we do know that Embiid will be in the lineup, sick or not, for the Philadelphia 76ers tonight, as will Pascal Siakam for the Raptors. He was questionable for Game 4 in Philadelphia with a contusion in his calf, but he seems to be getting better. They need Siakam. They need those points that he puts up, and, of course, they need Kawhi Leonard to be Kawhi Leonard if they want to win this Game 5 tonight, Dwight.
Yeah, and Kawhi and the Raptors need the sixth man, the fans, to be down there making some noise tonight. Thank you for that, Greg. Now, the whole city will be cheering on the Raptors tonight. Go Raps, go. Stay with us. We'll be right back. April showers bring May flowers, and here are some May flowers for you because we've been getting a lot of showers lately. Submitted by Toronto, Tonto. Great picture. Love the bright colors there. Remember, get your photos to us by posting them on Twitter or Instagram with the hashtag CBCYourGTA, and we will air some of them on the show. Jurassic Park tonight, going to be wet out there. I know you're rushing off to the game, so quickly give us the forecast.
Well, I can stay to do that part, right? Yeah, we are looking at high pressure in place tonight. So temperatures falling off with that risk of seeing a little bit of patchy frost, especially to the north of the GTA. I hate having to say that, but that is the truth. But then as we go through the day tomorrow, we will start off with some sunshine. So overnight low is 4. We start off with sunshine, and then what's going to be happening is the clouds are going to start building in as the day wears on. So you see that into the afternoon hours. Winds will turn to the east, get a little bit stronger, and our high just 11. We should be closer to 17 degrees for an afternoon high at this time of year. So those clouds are coming in because the next system that's going to be moving towards us, and that's going to be bringing us those rain showers for our Mayflowers. Mostly on Thursday, we'll be seeing that. It's going to be a wet and cool day and breezy, too.
Well, I've put down the grass seed, so I will take a little more rain.
Oh, that's going to help
good to go. Raptors red tonight on our Colette. That means our Raps are going to win. I'm feeling it. That's our show for tonight. Thank you for watching. We will see you back here tomorrow at 6. Leave you with a look at Jurassic Park, where the fans were complaining earlier on the show. The fans weren't getting down there early. They're there, and they're ready to go. Are you ready, Colette, together?
I'm ready.
Go, Raps, go!